Hello and welcome to Tête à Tête here on France 24. Our guest this week is Ami Ayalon. He's a former commander of the Israeli Navy and the former head of the Shin Bet, Israel's domestic intelligence agency. He joins us from Kerem Maharal in northern Israel. Thank you very much, Mr. Ayalon, for being our guest today.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak.
Do you consider that the war against Iran is existential for Israel?
Well, first of all, I'm not speaking about the war. I'm speaking about the threat. The Iranian threat, the way we Israelis understand it, is existential threat. The idea that they will possess a nuclear military power as long as they are threatening to destroy Israel, and they do not see Israel as a legitimate player in the Middle East. Yes, it is an existential threat.
Do you fear that the war will be Iraq 2003 all over again after it ends, however it ends?
Well, the way I understand the war, it's not the first war, but we do not try to proceed the day after, and the goals of this war are not clear, not to the Israelis, and I don't think that to anybody else. So I've been trained for 40 years as a military person, a commander, a naval officer. To see every war as a mean, not at the end. The war is never the end of itself. The war is just a mean in order to achieve a better political reality. And as long as we cannot provide a very clear picture of the future reality after the war, so I don't think that we have the ability to end the war. And this is exactly what we see during the last 2 or 3 or how many years. So I think that that we have to come up with a very clear vision of the day after. And I think that we have to understand that there is a limit to what we can achieve by the use of military power. Personally, from my experience and the way I understand the war, this war, we achieved all what we can achieve by the use of the military power. And unless we shall understand that when we speak about the end of the war, we have to use diplomacy or what we call a smart power, which is a combination of a military power and statesmanship or diplomacy. This is something that I think that in Israel, our leaders do not understand.
Do you agree with the notion now that Israel actually doesn't really have clear borders, be it in Gaza, in Syria, in Lebanon, and do you think that it's a good thing or a dangerous thing for Israel?
It's first of all, it's not quite normal, you know. Once we understand that we created a state relatively many years ago, I think that our inability, we Israelis do not agree on our borders or where should we see our borders. You know that in Israel, the green line, which from the international point of view, is agreed as the Israeli border on the east, and when it comes to Gaza on the south. In Israel, it is not acceptable, and you cannot see it on any map. Children, when they go to schools and they see the map of Israel, they do not see the green line. This is the decision of our government. So yes, it is not normal, and in a way, if we really try to understand the Israeli Israeli-Middle Eastern conflict, because this is a source of the instability and the conflict in the Middle East. You cannot separate. We are fighting today in five fronts. In Iran, against Iran, in Gaza, in Lebanon, in the West Bank, and in Syria. So, and everything is related. Finally, if you ask me, the core of all these fronts, all these wars, is the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, because unless we shall be able to come to an agreement with the Palestinian people, we shall not be able to create stability in the Middle East. This is a source of the conflict with all our neighbors. By the way, if we shall not change our policy, I don't believe that we shall be able to keep or to preserve the peace with Egypt and the peace with Jordan. And I don't think that we can dream to have normalization or diplomatic relations with Saudi Arabia. So yes, everything is related, and we have to understand it in order to try to portray and to agree on the day after.
Right. Well, the current cabinet seems to have a pretty clear picture of what the day after should look like. It has taken steps in the West Bank that you mentioned to allow purchase of private land, more Israeli authorities, more ability to destroy Palestinian infrastructure, and so on. Do you consider that it's actually a clarification, because many observers believe that it is the steps towards full annexation? Do you agree with that?
I totally agree. If you ask our government, this is exactly what they see as the future of Israel, to annex all the West Bank and Gaza, and probably to create some Palestinian islands. This is for me. I do not represent the Israeli people. I do not represent my government. But I'm totally against it. I think that unless we shall understand that Palestinians are a people, we see them as people. But most Israelis do not see Palestinians as a people. The way I understand them, it is not for me to decide for them whether they are a people or no. Today they are fighting not only in order to bring bread to their children, they are fighting for their freedom as a people. And unless we shall understand that from the Jordan to the sea, there are two people, by the way, from the demographic point of view, they are majority, about 51% from the Jordan to the sea. So in order to come to any stability, in order to end this war, we have to accept the idea that Palestinians are a people, and there are only two ways to come up to an agreement. One is to divide this piece of land, and they accepted it, by the way. They signed on the Arab Peace Initiative, and they tell us in many voices that they accept Israel on the conditions of the international resolutions, UN resolutions, and the Security Council resolutions. But no Israeli government discussed it. And today, unfortunately, if we shall not divide this piece of land, we are heading to apartheid. We shall lose our identity as a Jewish democratic state. And unfortunately, from my experience, we shall lose our security, because we are enforcing, we are increasing Palestinian violence, and not only Palestinian violence. We see branches of Al-Qaeda and ISIS everywhere. So I think that it is for us. We are heading to elections, and if we shall not be able to replace this government, we are facing a very, very clear and very, very dangerous future.
Mr. Ayalon, a year ago, you and 17 other former top security officials took out ads in Israeli newspapers warning that the fabric, the values of Israel were eroding. A year later, if I may ask you bluntly, is democracy in danger in Israel in your eyes?
Yes, of course. I'm saying it for the last 15 minutes. We are endangering our identity as a Jewish democratic state. We are betraying our Declaration of Independence that we wrote when we, when this state was born in 48. And it is very, very clear. I think between 70 to 80% of the former generals, admirals, and security leaders from the Shin Bet and Mossad share my ideas. And we publicly are saying it for the last 3-4 years. So, yes, by the way, something that we do not see in Israel today is the rift that we are creating with the Jewish people everywhere in the diaspora. Most youngsters, Jewish youngsters who are living, I don't know, in Europe or in America or everywhere, they see us, and most of them do not understand us and do not accept what they see and what we are doing in Gaza, in the West Bank, and during this war.
Ami Ayalon, I want to thank you very much for being our guest today, and thank you all for watching this edition of Tête à Tête here on France 24.